Welcome back to part 2 of this Repro 1 series. I'll start with the default preset again, and notice that both oscillators are tuned the same and set to a sawtooth wave. If we listen to each of them on their own, they sound identical. But when we mix them both together, the sound becomes thicker and more complex, as the two oscillators drift in and out of phase with each other, like real analog oscillators. And of course we can exaggerate this effect by detuning the oscillators against each other slightly with the little trim pots. Like real analog oscillators, these run constantly, even when you're not playing a note. This gives a much more authentic sound, but also means the CPU load remains constant even when the synth is not playing. If that's a problem, you can turn on sleepy mode at the top, and the oscillators now run in a reduced CPU mode when not actually playing a note. Now notice what happens if I turn on sync for oscillator A. All that drifting between the oscillators disappears, as oscillator A is now forced to restart every time oscillator B does. When adding the two oscillators together in the mixer section just results in a louder sawtooth. Now I'm going to turn down oscillator B, and notice what happens when I tune oscillator A higher than oscillator B. The note remains the same, but we gain extra high harmonics that sweep around in a distinctive manner as I change the pitch of oscillator A. Obviously, I'm going to want to modulate this, so let's link oscillator A frequency to the direct modulation path, and then pick a modulation source to the left. I'm going to use the LFO again, which is already switched to the direct path. So when I turn up the amount knob, we start to hear the modulation take effect, creating a classic oscillator sync sweep sound. Okay, now let's jump to another fun feature, the arpeggiator. Turn this on by switching to either the up or up and down modes. And I'm going to switch the key source to clock again, as I did with the sequencer example, so I can set a tempo synced rate using the clock knob to the left. And chords are now arpeggiated automatically. Notice that unlike most arpeggiators, playing a single note just triggers a single note as normal. You have to add at least one more note to kick it into action, which adds some unusual performance possibilities. So let's wind down the filter, maybe with some keyboard tracking so it opens up a bit more for higher notes. And I'll add some envelope modulation, and turn down the sustain, and switch to re-trigger mode so the envelope is triggered for every arpeggiator note. And I'll tighten up the envelope decay to create a short, plucky articulation for every note. Now let's take another look at the modulation section. And notice that the filter envelope we just adjusted appears at the top as a modulation source. If I turn up the amount knob, I can blend some of this into the direct modulation path. The frequency of oscillator A is now being modulated by our plucky filter envelope, adding a more aggressive attack to each note, as well as this slow sweeping LFO we set up earlier. We could also blend the third modulation source into the direct path. Mod Os B is actually oscillator B, so this will modulate oscillator A at audio rates, adding a gnarlier character. But we could alternatively switch it to the wheel path and send it somewhere else instead. I'm going to drop down to the filter destination and switch this to the wheel path as well. And now when I push up the wheel, the filter is modulated at audio rates, adding a bright, buzzy character. The choice of waveform for oscillator B will have a profound effect on the result. Sawtooth, square, or pulse waves will tend to add a slightly chaotic character, while the triangle will be a little more controlled. Let's round out the sound a little by mixing in some of this triangle wave to the audio path as well. And thicken it by switching the third mixer channel to feedback, which emulates the classic trick of feeding the synth's output back to its audio input. And maybe I'll switch to the Effects tab and add some delay and reverb from the Lyrebird and Drench stomp boxes. That's all for this video. Look out for part 3, which will dig a bit deeper into frequency modulation between the oscillators. Thanks for watching.